What a Final Four we have in the NBA. Teams that haven't been in this position in a very long time and teams that have. I'm just so excited. It's fresh blood. It's a bunch of storylines we really haven't seen too much of at this point, at least in the last couple years. And again, it's just the variety. When was the last time you ever thought you would see the Pacers, the Thunder, the Timberwolves, and the Knicks in the conference finals? Obviously, I did not think that was going to occur this year, and I don't think many people did either. So I'm just enjoying the moment. It should be really cool to see these teams do what they're going to do. Obviously, we have to see how the series goes, but I'm just so excited. And another thing I thought was interesting is this feels like the start of either a new era of the NBA or maybe even just a gap year. But obviously, no Bron in the conference finals, no Curry. On the East, there's no Celtics. So I just thought, the NBA is changing and a lot of things are happening, and it's just not the league that people I think are used to the last 10 years, where you see these dynasty teams of the Warriors. You see these dynasty, not necessarily dynasty teams, but you see these teams like the Cavs that were consistently going to the NBA finals. We're just not seeing that. And it's just it's a lot of parity. It's a lot of parity, and that was intentional with the CBA deal and all that. But I'm just excited for this new era of basketball, if we want to call it that, and just seeing these four teams show up in the biggest moments. Curious to see who's going to make the biggest plays, and let's discuss it. First, we're going to touch on the Timberwolves versus the Warriors. Just kind of getting this one out of the way very quickly. Wasn't much of a series after Curry got hurt, which was a shame because Curry was really doing his thing in that series against Houston, and I was really excited to see him battle it out against Ant, but obviously he hurt his hamstring in game one. It was pretty much wraps after that, even though Golden State, credit to them, did end up winning that series. The Timberwolves ended up handling them in five, and rightfully so. I mean, when you lose Curry, you pretty much lose, I would say, maybe 50 to 60% of just the scoring that they usually get from Golden State, because everything revolves around Curry. Everything. He's the guy making the space increase for everyone else. Curry's constantly dealing with two defenders. Again, when you lose him and a guy that is that vocal to the offense, it just gets hard to really make consistent shot making happen. And when you're relying on a middle-aged, not middle-aged, but mid-30s Jimmy Butler to be your primary scorer, it's just going to be tough. So they got killed pretty quickly after that, but I also wanted to give a ton of credit to Julius Randle. He, in my opinion, was the X factor of the series. I still think the Timberwolves would have won regardless if Curry goes down, but the fact that Randle really took that step this series, and I mean, he did pretty well in my opinion, even in the first round, but he really made his presence felt in this series against Golden State. And this guy's getting hot at the right time. Who would have thought? Again, if you would have talked to me over the summer when that trade happened with Cat and him and DiVincenzo, I thought, okay, DiVincenzo's a solid piece. Obviously, Cat is Cat. But where does Randle fit into this thing? Like, where does he fit? Does he fit in the locker room? Like, we just didn't know. But, man, he's getting hot at the right time, and it's looking like such a pivotal move for Minnesota because he really is turning up right at the best time of the season. In that series against Golden State, he averaged 25 points, 6 rebounds, 7 assists. Again, not much more you can ask out of him, and he's really helping Ant out, just taking a little bit of the load off of some of that scoring, and I think that's really making this Timberwolves team click, and I'm curious to see how that goes against the OKC Thunder moving forward. Now let's talk about the Cavs Pacers. I mean, I've kind of already broke this down already on the channel, so I'm going to keep this one really quick. But those injuries in game 1 and 2 really, really hurt Cleveland. They really hurt Cleveland. It was a shame that Garland was hurt and, Mobley had to sit out of game 2. But it was just too much to overcome. I mean, you lose both games at home. It's just really hard to come back from that. And I said this in the last video that I made about that, talking about Indiana. That team is relentless. They have so many scores, so many guys that they can go and just throw at you, and guys that are consistently running quick, continuing a high pace, fast pace, and just constantly either jacking up threes or they're taking you to the rack. It's really hard to defend that team. And again, when you're down a couple guys anyways in those first couple games, it just puts so much pressure on everyone else not named Donovan Mitchell, and those guys really didn't show up for Cleveland. So Indiana handled them pretty well. Again, I know there were injuries, but still, did I expect them to beat the Cavs in 5? Absolutely not. So again, ton of credit to Indiana. I didn't end up making a video about this one, Boston versus the Knicks. I thought this was a very, very, very good series, in my opinion. It was all over the place. We had a little bit of dramatics, especially in the first couple games. Then you had the Tatum injury. But overall, I thought the series was still pretty good for what ended up occurring. Of course, I would have loved to see Tatum stay healthy. That was so unfortunate, especially with the game that he had had. It was really unfortunate, and I think at least if he was healthy, I don't know if they win that game, but maybe this was pushed to 7 just because maybe they end up winning game 6 or something. Like I don't know. So I feel like in another world, we would have gotten that full series just when everyone was healthy and all that, but still, in my opinion, the X factor for this series was just the fact that Boston could not win either game 1 or game 2 in their home building, in the Garden, not Madison Square Garden, the TD Garden, and they just blew the series, in my opinion, after that. It just was like, wow, you're going to go into New York now down 2-0, and you're going to expect to win? You're just playing with your food too much, and there were no excuses with Tatum being hurt at that point. And I'm going to get on Tatum a little bit. I know it's the basketball, the analytics. That's what the Celtics do. That's how they won a championship last year, and I'm not taking that away from them. But my God, just terrible shot IQ down the stretch from Tatum, from Brown. I don't know why Joe Mazzulla didn't call timeouts in key situations down the stretch. It just felt like when the Celtics offense it starts to collapse in that fourth quarter, it just feels like every single person knows they're just going to keep jacking threes. And it's just like, man, it's such a tough situation because, again, the analytics have shown, and last year showed as well, when this is on, you can win a championship. I mean, it quite literally did get them a championship. But at the same time, the constant three ball, when you can't pivot off that in real time, it is so hard to, adapt and just adjust from. And it's just an interesting way to play basketball because, again, you're living and dying by the three. But when the three is obviously not working, I mean, they shot 25 for 100 in the first 2 games of the series. You're going to have to pivot. And I just don't think Boston ended up doing that as soon as they needed to. Also, Porzingis' illness was a huge factor. I mean, he was a non-factor in this series. And I feel bad for the guy. I mean, they haven't even told us what he's sick with yet. And he's been sick for like months at this point. It's so weird. But he still played. So he's going to get criticism from me. And he just was not able to step up to the task. And it's unfortunate because, again, they weren't as healthy as they could be. But still, man, like I think he would have changed the series if he was obviously healthy. It just puts way more pressure on Cat. He can be a scorer at times if put in the right positions. So just unfortunate. Again, a very interesting series, though. I love seeing the Knicks step up in those first 2 games, showing that they really meant business. They proved people wrong like me. I thought, the Knicks might even lose in 5. I had Celtics in 6. No, it was Knicks in 6. And MSG was a pleasure to see just how rowdy that building was, especially Game 6. That place has a very unique pop to it when it is buzzing and, when guys are drilling big threes, hitting big shots. It's just almost an infectious crowd. It's one of those crowds that really can will you to a win, and I love that we get to see the MSG in these bigger games now, going into the conference finals, something the Knicks haven't done since I think '99. So I'm just super excited to see that moving forward. The last series we got to touch on is Nuggets versus the Thunder, the 7-game series we had. Again, another great series. It was a lot of again, back and forth, game-winning shots from Denver early, and then you have eventually OKC starts to feel more comfortable. Oh my gosh, are they going to put Denver away? Nope, they don't put Denver away on the road in Game 6, so they take it back to OKC, and then they actually get it done. And I felt like that Game 7 for me, for OKC personally, was the definition of them growing up as a team. I felt like they finally pretty much learned how to take advantage of the moment. They didn't do that last year. The lights were too bright. At times this series, the lights looked too bright, like Jalen Williams in Game 6 where he shot 3 for 16. But in my opinion, they all came out ready to go. They knew the moment. And, you beat a team with championship DNA. I know it doesn't feel like it, but Denver won a championship only 2 years ago. That core is proven that they can win at the biggest, the biggest stage. And again, it's just a ton of credit for OKC getting that done in that moment and actually taking advantage of it. I thought in that Game 7 that SGA did a great job of being assertive. He was really showing that he was ready for the task, hitting shots. He did a great job, in my opinion, of just setting the tone for OKC, and rightfully so. He is the leader of that team. So I thought he did a great job. I loved the response from Jalen Williams in Game 7. Again, struggled in Game 6, but in my opinion, he did a great job. They even said on the broadcast that he really was trying to attack that game with the mindset of anything I can do to help the team, whether it's offensively, defensively. And I felt like he did that. I mean, he hit a ton of big shots, specifically in that second quarter, was hustling on defense, on fast breaks. He just did a great job, and you love seeing a young kid step up in that moment after struggling so much in Game 6 and just knowing, hey, if I lock in and help out the team, we're going to win the game. And I really like seeing that from him. Also, have to give a ton of credit to Alex Caruso. This guy was putting his body on the line in a way that I haven't seen from many players throughout my years of watching basketball. Getting down low when OKC is playing small and really making Jokic work, swiping constantly. Got a little bit of help from the refs, but still was forcing steals, was being an absolute pest, an absolute menace to Jokic that entire game. He was giving him hell. He was not going to give him any easy looks, and he was going to make him work for it. And I just think that was so impressive. Again, he only dropped 11 points, but that defense was infectious. The crowd was thriving off of it, and I think as an OKC player, there's no way that you were watching that and you weren't getting fired up yourself. If this guy who's 100 pounds less than Jokic is putting his body on the line, why can't you do it? So I wanted to give Caruso a ton of credit. I mean, it was just fantastic stuff. You don't see that a lot with, again, not a younger veteran, but a smaller veteran physically on a two-time MVP and giving him that much hell in a Game 7. I mean, that is just some big ball stuff from Caruso. And last, I had to say, that second quarter for OKC was some of the best basketball I've seen in the last couple years. The intensity on making shots, the intensity on defense, like I just said with Caruso and everyone else, constantly trying to go for steals, knowing where they had to be. Again, it just was suffocating watching that. Denver completely just started to crumble. The offense was all out of rhythm. They consistently were either getting the ball swiped or they were passing to OKC because OKC was, again, just being so menacing on defense. And then, again, when you're good on defense, you then have to capitalize on offense. And, again, OKC did that with numerous fast breaks, just hitting their shots. It was just some of the best basketball I've seen in the last couple of years. Maybe that's a little hyperbolic in the moment, but I just have not seen a team absolutely just take over a game like that in a really long time. So first, let's talk about Knicks Pacers. I think this is, of course, going to be a very interesting series. There's a little bit of history from last year due to the Pacers beating the Knicks in Game 7 in Madison Square Garden. Now, for context, the Knicks were really, really banged up. I mean, OG was banged up. I think Hart was a little banged up, and Brunson was not there physically. So there was a lot going Indiana's way, but still, you had to give them credit. They've already done this. They've already beat the Knicks in a 7-game series in their past, so why would they feel like they can't do it again? I also like that both of these teams have showed that they can be clutch. We saw it with the Haliburton shot in Game 2, or in Game 5, the way that entire team closed out Cleveland. We saw it multiple times with the Knicks, Game 1 and Game 2, where they literally did the same thing, and they still ended up beating the Celtics. Game 4, where they closed that game. And even in Game 6, they showed up. They didn't want to let that go to Game 7. They just ended the game. So both these teams are clutch for sure, and even the Jalen Brunson three-point shot against Detroit to end them. How could I forget that? But overall, I think both these teams are clutch. They're not afraid of the moment. And I think we're going to see a ton of scoring from both of these teams. Because, again, as I said, Indiana is relentless. They have so many bodies that they can throw at you. And a majority, if not all of them, can score both the three-point shot and they can get to the rack or hit their own little jump shot as well. And then when you have the Knicks, you have such a pivotal starting lineup with, again, Brunson, OG, Bridges, Hart, and Cat. And again, all those guys can score as well. And I just think there's going to be so much high-quality shot making in this series. I'm just super, super excited to see how it plays out. My two biggest X factors for this series specifically, number one, can Cat stay out of foul trouble? He has such a bad tendency to just have dumb fouls, and I feel like that could have bit them a little bit last series, but obviously with all the injuries for Boston, we just didn't see it. But I feel like he needs to stay in check with these fouls. He needs to stay in check because, in my opinion, if Cat goes out, other than Mitchell Robinson, who I'll give a ton of credit, is playing fantastic ball, other than him, there are not a lot of big men for this Knicks team. And if Indiana wants to get to the rack and has Cat in foul trouble, I just think that really plays into some of their strengths. So I'm very worried about that if I'm a Knicks fan. And number two, again, the Pacers play at such a quick pace, no pun intended. But my biggest worry is that, again, directly helps them because Tibbs likes to play his starters so much. It's like his kryptonite or something. I mean, even in Game 6, he had them in late, and they were up by like 35 points. I'm just worried with the pace that they run at, the depth that Indiana has. Does that end up benefiting them because Tibbs is too stubborn with his rotation, doesn't feel like he can trust some of the guys on the Knicks bench, and I'm worried that the Knicks guys are just going to be a little too gassed. There's going to be maybe one or two of those games where they just can't get those shots to fall because, it's one of those games and you just need those couple minutes of rest, but they're not getting them. And I think that is going to play a big factor in the series, and that's why making a prediction, I have to go Pacers in 7. It's just the way I'm feeling. I think the Pacers do get it done. I think it's going to be close. I think, again, this is a toss-up series for sure. But just based off what I told you, I think the Pacers get it done. I think they just have a couple more bodies, and I think Tibbs playing his starters consistently will play into the pace that the Pacers play with. And again, they just have more bodies. I just think it's going to be a war of attrition and who can really outlast you and who can go the longest without, collapsing, if you want to call it like that. So I got the Pacers in 7. I wouldn't say I feel very confident about that pick, though. The next series we have is the Western Conference Finals. Again, also very excited for this one. OKC's finally trying to take that next step, and it feels like they kind of are a little bit. I mean, you just beat an NBA champion from 2 years ago. You beat that team. You get over your demons from last year. And then you have Minnesota, a team that, again, made a huge trade with the Randle and DiVincenzo trade for Cat, and they are gelling at the right time. And they've gotten some breaks as well in the playoffs, but they're trying to make up for what they did last year. They had all the momentum in the world last year, and then they flopped and lost in 5 to Dallas. So both these teams have something to prove, and I'm just really excited to see how it translates onto the court. My first couple questions I have for this series. Can Randle continue to score at this pace? If he does, I think Minnesota has a greater chance, and that's just obvious. It's another elite scorer that OKC is going to have to defend because let's keep it a buck. OKC has the personnel to go defend Ant. You have multiple guys that can really kind of get a little handsy. They have multiple guards that they can throw at him. Even some of their forwards, I think you could put on Ant. There needs to be another scorer on Minnesota that they can consistently rely on, and obviously they've had that with Randle. So again, can he continue to do this? Because if he can, I really like Minnesota's chances, at least to create this, to maybe make this a 6 or 7 game series. Can Rudy take advantage of Chet down low? We saw this in Game 5 where Rudy had, I think it was 24 points, 22 rebounds, one of those games. Can he take advantage of Chet? Because we saw this last series. Jokic, when he had Chet on him, he knew he was going to the rack because, no disrespect to Chet, Chet can't handle a guy that big physically. And obviously, Rudy Gobert is nowhere near offensively what Nikola Jokic is, but at the same time, from a pure physical standpoint, he's going to win most of those battles in the paint. Now, they do have Hartenstein, but if Hartenstein's not on the court, Chet's going to have to eat some of those minutes. And I'm curious, does Minnesota go down low? Do they attack in the paint? Is that something they want to do? I think it could be a potential matchup that they have to exploit. But again, we just don't know. We have to see how aggressive Rudy's going to be within the series. And my last one, will OKC's offense get tight like they did in Game 6 and even other times throughout that series with Denver? OKC has the pieces. We've all seen it. They've been this team all year. They have multiple scorers. They have guys that can defend. They have the versatility where they can go small like they did in Game 7 against Denver, or you can throw Hartenstein and you can throw Chet out there, and you can have, some taller guys out there with some of these guards. They have the versatility. They have the scores. But can they do it on a consistent basis? That's my biggest question for them, and that's really all I need to have answered, because, again, you're going to have times where guys aren't going to score. You're going to have times where maybe SGA struggles a little bit. And when I say struggle, maybe he has 25 points instead of 35. Who on OKC is going to hit those shots? Now, of course, the pressure is on Jalen Williams, as it was in Game 7, and he delivered. And I think he will deliver. But again, if he isn't going, who else is going to step up for OKC? Is it going to be Chet? Is Caruso going to try to maybe drop 15? Are we going to get a Lou Dort game or something like that? Are we going to get some points from Wiggins maybe? I don't know how deep they're going to go with the bench. I just don't know. But that's my biggest concern in this series, because that's the one thing I love about Minnesota is I'm giving the ball to Ant and I'm getting out of the way, because that guy knows how to score and he is going to be taking those shots in the clutch. And I just feel like Minnesota has at least more reliable scorers right now currently than OKC. And it's not a slight on OKC at all. They're by far the more versatile team. But in those big moments, I don't know if I trust Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren over maybe Julius Randle and Ant. And I don't know. It's something I'm thinking about. We've seen it a couple of times now with OKC. So that's my biggest concern for them heading into this series. My prediction for this series is Thunder in 6. I have the Thunder in 6. I think it could go either way. I still think Minnesota could win this series, of course. It's all respect to them. But I just trust that versatility of what OKC has. And again, that defense is so good when it's on, and has primarily been on the last couple series. Again, as I just stated previously, it's some of the shot making. I think that defense is going to be hard for Minnesota at times. Again, you have bodies. We can throw 2 or 3 bodies at Ant that I can feel good about handling him. You can throw a couple bodies at Randle, and you still have more bodies to throw at McDaniels, DiVincenzo, Mike Conley. This is just such a versatile team with OKC. And I just think that they, again, can do it. Oh, you want to even go to Rudy? Let's get Hartenstein out there to just neutralize some of that. There's just a little bit more options that I think they have. I guess, again, my biggest worry is the scoring when it comes to OKC. But at the same time, I just think that they get it done. And I think getting that series win over Denver was huge. I mean, you finally have now had that series-defining win for you guys. You finally have slayed the demon, if you want to call it that. You, again, beat a veteran-led team that has championship DNA. And, you've been in these bigger moments. Not saying Minnesota hasn't. They were in these moments last year. But in this playoff run, 5 games against the Lakers, 5 games against the Warriors. I feel like they haven't really been in this in that type of pressure, I guess, this year as much. So I'm wondering if that maybe aids them a little bit. I think Minnesota maybe wins game 1 just because they have more rest than OKC, but I have OKC in 6. I just think that they get it done. It's looking like their year. So give me OKC in 6. And those are my predictions / recap for the second round and the predictions for the conference finals. Again, very excited. It's interesting seeing where the league is right now with, again, these teams, these stars. I mean, again, when you think about it, Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, SGA, or Haliburton will all have a ring in about a month and a half. So very excited for whoever does end up getting it. I think this is just going to be a good brand of basketball regardless. I'm satisfied with both of these series, and I think they should be really good. So if you enjoy this video, feel free to give it a like. If you have any thoughts or predictions, drop them down below. I'd love to see what you guys are thinking. And if you want to hear more about me breaking down the NBA playoffs, feel free to subscribe, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace, guys.